So a lot of people have been asking questions about my pregnancy. Right now I am 34 weeks pregnant, so I'm really in the home stretch, final trimester. And I would say that the most common question that I've gotten on Instagram and on YouTube throughout this pregnancy is whether or not I have been maintaining a bright line eating, whole food, plant-based diet during this pregnancy. So the answer is not exactly. No. No. So, as a lot of you guys know, we both lost 100 pounds, and I lost about the first 50 going whole food plant-based, and another 50 staying whole food plant-based, but adding the concepts of bright line eating, which is no sugar, no flour, measured meals, and no eating between meals. And I felt amazing. I think it helped me get pregnant. And so a lot of you were wanting to know whether or not I had kept that up during pregnancy.
I should also point out that we were essentially vegan before we got pregnant.
Right.
So we were not eating any animal products at all. I think we started to eat maybe some eggs.
Yeah, I started to eat eggs and cheese right before I got pregnant because I wanted to gain a little bit of weight right before I started trying because I had read that the body is more amenable to getting pregnant when it feels like it's an environment of abundance and when it feels like it's not in a sort of diet and famine type mode. So during the first trimester, I started having cravings for meat. Before the pregnancy test was revealed that we were pregnant, but when I was pregnant,
middle of August,
right? But when I was pregnant, but it wasn't yet showing up. John was very skeptical, and I was very sure that I was pregnant. And we went to a movie that got out around midnight, and I typically don't eat that late at night. But I turned to John and I was like, I need some eggs right now. And we pulled into the diner, and he said, I think you're pregnant because it was kind of a clear indication. It was something I wanted more protein. And then I started eating, eggs and cheese and stuff like that. And I was eating primarily whole food plant-based with eggs and cheese. And then in the middle of the first trimester, I had a craving for a gyro sandwich. Some people call them gyros, like the Greek sandwich with lamb at like 11 a.m. And I walked across the street to a Greek place and I ate probably a quarter of a gyro sandwich. I couldn't really finish it. And it didn't taste that good to me because it had been years since I'd had anything like that. But I really strongly craved it. And then it wasn't very satisfying when I had it. But I thought, okay, I probably need to up my protein. So I started eating more eggs, more cheese. And then like a week later, we went to lunch with friends, and a girl she had ordered a Reuben sandwich, which is corn pastrami or corned beef. And it was a corn pastrami Reuben sandwich. And she'd eaten half of it, and she asked, does anybody want the other half? And I looked at that Reuben and I was like, I do. My whole body was like, I want that Reuben right now. And I ate it, and it was delicious. And then the next day I had another Reuben sandwich. And it was just like this overwhelming urge to eat more meat. So I realized my body was probably craving protein because it needed it. And I listened to my body, and I started incorporating like fish into my diet in the first trimester.
Mostly the first trimester.
Yeah. And then I stopped craving it, and that went away, and I basically stopped eating fish. I think I had a little bit of shrimp during the second trimester. And during the second trimester, also during the first trimester, I had a really hard time with food aversions. So I had been eating these huge salads up to for the years preceding my pregnancy, and I just couldn't keep them down. I couldn't get myself to eat them, and then when I ate them, I threw them up. So I started trying to have like smoothies, which I typically don't have, to try to get some greens. I would put kale and strawberries and some stuff like that to try to get some veggies in my diet, but I did have nausea and food aversions during the first trimester, and sometimes the only thing I could keep down was bread. So I did start eating bread during this pregnancy, and I have eaten bread throughout this pregnancy, which is not a bright line eating thing, and which I was actually very surprised that I didn't have any sort of addictive pull towards. So if you follow Bright Line Eating, you know that there's a food freedom quiz that you can take that shows where you fall on that bell curve of addiction for food, and I am a 9 out of 10, so I have a very addictive relationship with certain foods. And for whatever reason, during this pregnancy, I have been able to eat bread without having any sort of really addictive response, which is interesting because John is a 3 or a 2 on the scale, doesn't have a very addictive response. And we were joking that maybe the baby is kind of taking the reins and has more of John's, right. She's telling me what to eat. So I started eating bread. I started eating a little bit of fish and things like that. I really didn't eat meat, except for those. I had the 2 Reubens and a little bit of a gyro sandwich. I didn't crave it. But during the second trimester, I started eating healthier again. I started craving my salads, my fruits, and I would say that the hormonal kick that you get in the second trimester is just an insane amount of estrogen. So I was actually feeling really empowered and beautiful and doing a lot of self-care and feeling just very good. And now in the third trimester, I would say...
We're like halfway through the third trimester, maybe a little bit more, yeah.
I've been wanting salad still eating some bread, eating a lot of rice, eating a lot of garbanzo beans, things like that.
I think, right after, I've been sort of eating with Shannon, and I've been on my own kind of journey during the pregnancy, trying to gain some muscle mass and exercising a lot more. So I too have been eating just more quantities of food than I've eaten before. Still salads a lot, but I've also been eating bread with Shannon as well, kind of together at meals. And I think one big observation that we had is like we were almost really excited for the baby to come, because then we're going to really clean up our diets. And I think both of us are going to lose weight quite a lot. I've gained some weight, hopefully mostly muscle, but definitely some fat. And I talked about this in another video about my 100-day workout challenge, but I'm super excited to lose the fat that I have done. And the way that I'm going to do that is by sticking being a lot more strict to my Bright Line Eating diet, which I was doing before we got pregnant. And I think you're the same way.
I'm really excited. I kind of want to go back to being raw vegan for a little while, because I just felt so amazing during the time that I was doing that, and I find it's a lot easier to do during the summer. The baby's due in May, so I think I could be raw vegan for a couple of months and Bright Line Eating, no sugar, no flour, timed meals, and I think that's going to be a great way to sort of kickstart my
It'll be great because
post-baby diet.
It'll be great because we'll be at home on your maternity leave.
We
can cook. We can have time together, time to prepare the meals that we want. Really get back to the diet that we were eating before Shannon got pregnant. We're still eating, I would say, a super healthy diet. A lot of greens, a lot of vegetables, a lot of beans, which is the same diet that we were eating beforehand. But I think we would like to
just clean it up.
Clean it up
around the edges.
Yeah, not eat as much wheat or any flour, which we started to do. And like you said, go back to like a strict vegan diet. I think I would like to go back to more of a vegan diet. I've been mostly vegetarian. I didn't have the same meat cravings because I don't have the same hormonal shifts that Shannon had. But I've been eating meat. I have been eating eggs and cheese and things like that, just as a way almost to get protein and just have more calories for my workouts. But yeah.
Okay, so the other question that I generally get is, how are you feeling? And I would say that during the first trimester, I felt frumpy and disheveled and a little bit of body dysmorphia. It was hard for me to see my body change in a way that wasn't clearly that I was pregnant yet. It just kind of looked like I was fat. And it was tough. And then during the second trimester, I was also sort of nauseous and stuff like that. During the second trimester, I got that crazy upswing of estrogen, and I just started feeling amazing. I was feeling like beautiful and sexy and like quite horny, which was a little unexpected, because it's like, well, we already did the thing to like do the thing. So I don't know why nature was sending me those signals, but people say it's a thing. And then in the third trimester, I've been feeling good, optimistic, happy, but just especially towards the middle of it, where we're at now, the middle of the third trimester, towards the end of my pregnancy, I've finally been feeling somewhat uncomfortable. Like my body is just,
you're so big.
I've just gotten really big, and it's hard for me to bend down. I'm getting a little bit of heartburn. It's hard for me to I kind of lose my breath when I try to do stuff. So slightly physically uncomfortable, but still I would say this pregnancy has been pretty much a dream.
Another question we've gotten is about how we want to give birth. We're going to a hospital or whatever else. We talked about this in a video where we discussed being pregnant during the pandemic outbreak that's happening right now, but we have some pretty distinct thoughts about that. Maybe we can touch on it a little bit and then do a whole video about natural birth later. But
I'm a very hippy-dippy person at heart, and I want to have a very natural, unmedicated, unmedical intervention, unassisted birth. I want to be calm. I want to be relaxed. I want to be with John and some supportive female figures in the form of my midwife and my doula. And I really just want to let my body do its thing. My feeling is that birth is a natural progression of human evolution, and it's a natural extension of sex and love. And all of those things are very biologically driven and not something that we have to overthink. So I don't consider birth to be an illness or a sickness requiring tons of medical intervention. I think that should be there in the case there are complications. But in the case that there's a normal, natural, healthy pregnancy, I think we should just let the female body do what it was meant to do. So when I was 12 or 13, and it was time for me to hit puberty, I didn't require a medical team to come and put their hands on my shoulders and say, now is the time, Shannon, that you should start being interested in the boys around you because, at some point you're going to have to reproduce with them. No, it was like every single hormone in my body was like, boys! Boys! And it wasn't something anyone had to tell me to do. I was built to do it. I was programmed to it. And when I fell in love with John, when you meet somebody that it's going to be a good birth partner, there's no doctor there with his hand around your shoulder being like, maybe you should consider dating this one. He seems tall and smart and sensitive and nice. Maybe this would be maybe this is a good choice for you. I would highly recommend. I'm gonna write you a script. I would recommend that you go and you try to make contact with that young man. No, it was just I saw him and I wanted him, these are natural processes that you don't have to overthink. So, and then the same with sex, right? Everybody loves sex. It's just, you're built, you're hardwired to love it. So, and pregnancy is the end result of all of that. So I don't want some,
Because birth is the very end result. Yeah.
I don't need 1,000 people in the room, yelling at me to push. My body will tell me to push, and then I'll push, and then it'll be beautiful.
So we're trying to do the most natural, holistic birth that we can do. I think that will be a little bit impacted by what's going on in the world right now, and you can watch our other video about being pregnant at this time on our channel. But we are, whatever happens, the baby's going to come. I think we're really enthusiastic and feel strongly that she's going to be healthy and happy, and everything's going to go really well with the actual birth. So whatever happens, it'll happen at this point. But we probably want to take you a little bit closer in as we get closer to the birth. We're going to film the birth, hopefully in some way. I don't know who will be there, but it will be in some way filmed for us to remember. And we'll share it with you guys.
Get ready to see my boobs.
We'll share it with you guys in one way or another. But yeah.
Probably not. We'll probably pixel them out. We'll
see.
You
probably won't see Shannon's breasts. That probably won't exactly happen.
You might get a little peek.
Well.